Meanwhile, the race for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination is very much underway in Iowa. Candidate Nikki Haley is back in the Hawkeye State for her campaign. She's hosting a town hall in Council Bluffs. And Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis is heading to Iowa on Friday, while former President Trump is scheduled to make a speech there Monday on education. CBS News political director Finn Gomez joins us now. And, Finn, I just want to get started with this Dominion lawsuit, of course, that continues to make a lot of headlines. Exactly. Yeah. But there are also some political implications here in many of these depositions. For instance, we learned that Tucker Carlson texted that he hates President Trump passionately. So has the former president responded to that revelation?
So far, no, he hasn't. The last time he mentioned Tucker Carlson was less than 1 day ago when he posted on his social media platform that he was praising him for releasing that controversial January 6th video that was given to him by Speaker McCarthy. But since then, he hasn't. He's posted on several different topics. He's been sort of silent on this, and I think which is sort of interesting. It also harkens. It reminds me, Nicole, when I was at CPAC last week covering that annual gathering of conservatives. When this year was really sort of MAGA-con. It was very Trump heavily influenced gathering this time around. But when he spoke about, he was talking about Sean Hannity, someone who he is close to, one of the conservative commentators to come out at night. There was this polite applause, but then there's this awkward pause by the former president, and then he brought up Tucker Carlson, right? And Tucker Carlson, immediately there was this very loud cheer from the crowd because that same base is very supportive of the former president, are dedicated Tucker Carlson viewers. So I think there's this odd, this odd sort of dynamic between those two. And actually, Nicole, late last year, I spoke to a former senior Trump advisor, not associated with the current Trump iteration of this Trump campaign, who said that he was advising Tucker Carlson that he should run because of his popularity amongst that same base group. So, it's still something that Trump needs, is that support from that same base. And so it was sort of this unique, line that he so far has not crossed. So we'll see what he says in the upcoming days. The story's only getting bigger, getting more attention, but we'll see how it impacts that.
Yeah, and interesting that the former president used to do interviews all the time on Fox News, and now you don't hear him as much. Right. Well, let's turn to Nikki Haley. Of course, she is in Iowa tonight. So tell us the latest on her campaign and how she's being received in the Hawkeye State.
Yeah, so this is her second trip, Nicole, to the Hawkeye State. She went there following her announcement a couple weeks ago, starting in South Carolina, and then went to Iowa, and then went to New Hampshire. I spoke to a senior advisor to the former governor and the former UN ambassador under Trump, who says that she's going to be meeting, barnstorming across the Hawkeye State. She's going to be meeting with key constituent groups, including from farmers to evangelicals to other really crucial voting groups, because Iowa, it's so important for that specific campaigning in that specific state. You really need to lay the groundwork. It's of course it's still within the Republican calendar. It's still the first early voting state, right? The caucus there, and within that caucus, you really have to appeal to these big influential groups who can help you bring some of these caucus goers over to your side. So they have so far, she and her campaign have sort of held back in criticism towards some of the other declared candidates, including her former boss, of course, former President Trump. But there was this one description that I found interesting when the advisor told me that she was going to be there for several days. She was going to have multiple stops, and it wasn't going to be one of these one-day trips and out like DeSantis and Trump are doing. So I think that was interesting to point that out. She's still, far behind those two. Those two names are dominating so far the early polling of the potential Republican field. So it's interesting to see what she says, what she does. But again, she's someone who came up through the Tea Party, a sort of precursor to the MAGA iteration of the Republican Party, if you will. And so there is some of those people close to her campaign that believes that she can pick up steam.
And as you mentioned, Ron DeSantis also headed there at the end of the week. Is this a sign that he's a step closer to getting into the 2024 race?
I think so. I mean, yesterday he started his legislative session. So it's about 60 days, so ending in early May. And the thinking and people that we've spoken to within the Republican Party, that is the framework, the understanding that he will make his decision on 2024, and the expectation is that he will jump into the fray. And so this visit to the Hawkeye State in this 2024 chapter, if you will, of Ron DeSantis, I think indicates that. I think the fact that Trump is coming in 3 days later shows that so far right now it's a battle between those two.
And can we expect the former president to hit more of these early primary states?
He has, and I think, yes, it's picking up. I think we're really getting into that second phase, really, if you will, of this early process of the Republican primary race. I think you're expecting more folks to get in. Interestingly enough, just one more point about Nikki Haley, that is that I spoke to a formerly very high-ranking, he's a former high-ranking Republican official who I spoke to yesterday, who was saying that, the fact that Nikki Haley got in early, it was a little bit risky, but so far it's paid off because of all this attention that she's getting, something she has to do to compete with DeSantis and with Trump in these early states. And
with the few seconds we have left, best prediction of when we think President Biden will get in?
I've been speaking to some Democrats close to the White House and to his political operation, and there is something that will be happening maybe in several weeks from now, as early as April, perhaps. But there is some indicators internally and externally that they're moving in that direction in that timeline.
And of course, as he told me on Capitol Hill last week, he'll announce it when he announces it. So
yeah, he likes to take his time, but he's thorough. But we'll see.
Well, Finn Gomez, thank you so much.